January 1889. The winter Montana territory near about froze to death. I first saw her through that blizzard, snow coming down so thick you couldn't see God's judgment or your own hand, just white silence swallowing everything we'd built. But there she was, a woman in a coat too thin for killing cold, dragging a timber log twice her weight across frozen ground, alone, in a world that had forgotten what kindness looked like. I'd ridden past every morning for 2 weeks, and every morning, my chest tightened with something I'd buried alongside my wife 3 years back. Her name was Marjorie Coulter. The town whispered she was building a cabin on dead ground. Her husband's worthless claim said she was crazy, indecent, a woman alone. I reckon they were half right. She was alone, but so was I. Grief don't kill you quick, you see. It just freezes you slow, one piece at a time until you forget you're still alive. I stopped watching the day the first blizzard hit. Rode down from that ridge into the snow. By spring, one of us would thaw, or both of us would be buried. This is how we chose. 2 weeks earlier. Bitterroot Valley sits in Montana territory like a scar between mountains. Beautiful if you got the time to notice, deadly if you don't. January came in mean that year. Cattle dying by the thousands. Whole ranches going belly up. Town of Copper Creek, population 340, was hanging on by frozen fingernails. I'd been running Moses Ranch for 3 years. Not my ranch, just running it, easier than going home to an empty house that still smelled like her. That morning I rode into town for supplies. Nephew Oz sat behind me on the horse, silent as always. Boy hadn't spoke in 4 months, not since typhoid took his folks, just carved wood and stared at things the rest of us couldn't see. "Stay with the horse," I told him outside Voss's general store. He nodded, knife already working a piece of pine. Inside, the store smelled like coffee and judgment. Beatrice Voss stood behind the counter like a spider in a web. Everything in Copper Creek passed through her hands eventually. Credit, gossip, reputation. I was reaching for nails when the door opened. Cold air rushed in, and with it, a woman I'd only seen from a distance, Marjorie Coulter. She wore work clothes, hands bandaged, face carved lean by winter and hardship. Whole store went quiet. Heads turned, the kind of silence that cuts. "Mrs. Voss," she said, voice steady despite 40 eyes on her back. "I need nails, 20 pounds. I can pay next month when I sell timber." Beatrice's smile could freeze water. "Credits for families, Mrs. Coulter, not for women playing at men's work." "I ain't playing. I'm surviving. Your husband's debts died with him, but his foolishness clearly didn't." Beatrice's voice carried to every corner. "A woman building a cabin alone. By God's mercy, what kind of example does that set for decent folk?" The woman's shoulders stiffened, but she didn't break. "I'm just trying to survive the winter." "Then survive somewhere else. We don't need your kind here." Something in me cracked. Maybe it was remembering Margaret, how she'd wanted to build a home together. Maybe it was 3 years of watching life happen from a safe distance. Maybe I was just tired of being dead. I stepped forward, dropped coins on the counter. "Put her nails on my account, Beatrice." The store gasped like one body. Beatrice's eyes went sharp as ice picks. "Strange company you're keeping, Silas Brennan." "Neighborly sense, Beatrice. Something we used to value around here." I met her stare and didn't blink. "Can't build without nails?" The woman turned to me, surprised, suspicious. "I don't need charity, Mr. Brennan. Silas Brennan. And it ain't charity, just common sense." I tipped my hat and walked out before she could argue. Outside, Oz looked up from his carving, stared at me like I'd grown a second head. "Don't start," I muttered, mounting up. The woman followed me out, nails in hand. "Why did you do that?" "Seemed right. Nothing's free. Didn't ask for payment." She studied me, really looked the way people do when they're weighing trust against desperation. "Thank you, Mr. Brennan." I nodded, turned the horse toward home. That night, Clyde Hartshorn, one-armed trapper, my only real friend, knocked on my cabin door. "You just bought yourself a war, old man." I set down my coffee. "What are you talking about?" "Beatrice. She's telling everyone you're courting impropriety. Says if you help that woman again, whole town will know you chose sides." Through the window, I could see it, one small light glowing across the valley. Midge Coulter's lantern in her half-built cabin, one small flame against all that darkness. Let them know, I said. Clyde grinned. There's the Silas I remember. Outside, wind howled like wolves. And somewhere in the dark, I reckon, trouble was already saddling up. Storm hit before dawn. Temperature dropped 40 degrees in an hour. Wind came down from Canada like a freight train made of ice. I knew what that meant. That woman's half-built cabin wouldn't hold. She'd freeze by nightfall. I had two voices in my head that morning, Margaret's. You can't save everyone, Silas, remember? And mine, the one from before, grief hollowed me out. You can't save everyone, but you can save someone. Today, I loaded a pack horse. Canvas, rope, nails, dried beef. Oz watched from the doorway, silent question on his face. Stay with Clyde, I told him. I'll be back. The boy's knife stopped moving. He nodded once. Blizzard was full teeth by the time I reached Willow Creek. Could barely see the cabin through white curtain. Midge was on the roof, hammering canvas over exposed beams. Wind tore it down fast as she secured it. She saw me emerge from the storm, climbed down, grabbed a rifle. I don't need charity. I kept my hands visible. Not charity, neighborly sense. Storm will rip that canvas clean off by midnight. And what's your price, neighbor? I looked at her, really looked. Saw loneliness recognize itself in her eyes, same as mine. Just let me work. Long pause. Wind screaming. She was weighing trust against death. She lowered the rifle. You try anything. Ma'am, I'm too cold and too old for anything except keeping us both alive till morning. Her mouth almost smiled. Then you'd better know how to tie knots properly. We worked without speaking. Sometimes survival's the best conversation two people can have. His knots were cavalry tight. She learned fast, mimicked his technique. Once, passing rope, their hands touched. Both froze, eye contact through snow. Neither pulled away quick. Sorry, he muttered. Don't be, she said. By dark, the cabin was battened down, groaning but holding. Inside, she made coffee on a small stove. They sat on opposite sides of the tiny space, breath fogging in the cold. Thank you, she said. You saved my life today. Just helped you save your own. Why? The question hung there. Silas stared into the fire, choosing words like picking through broken glass. 3 years ago, my wife died. Fever took her and our baby both. I could have ridden for the doctor sooner. Thought she'd get better. His voice cracked. She didn't. Ever since, I've been watching life happen. From a distance. Safe. He looked up. But watching you build, refusing to quit, something about it made me remember I'm still breathing. Midge set down her cup. My husband Elle died in a mining accident. That's what they called it. Truth is, Vernon Nash's men wanted our claim. Elle wouldn't sell. They caused a cave-in. Jesus. Town blamed Elle as a troublemaker. I inherited the shame with the worthless land. Every log I place tells them I existed. Elle existed. We mattered. Fire crackled between them. Outside, the storm raged. You're braver than any man I rode with in the cavalry, Silas said. I'm terrified every single day, Mr. Brennan. Silas. Midge. Storm quieted for a moment. Then, footsteps outside, crunching in snow. Midge froze. Someone's out there. Silas grabbed the rifle, opened the door. Nothing but darkness and fresh tracks leading toward town. They'll tell Beatrice you were here, Midge whispered. Overnight. Let them. But his jaw tightened. He knew what was coming. Morning brought a note, slipped under the door during the night. Midge's hands shook reading it. Decent women don't entertain men overnight. Leave or be removed. The committee. She looked at Silas. They're going to force me out. Before he could answer, small footsteps approached. Oz appeared through the snow, having followed his uncle's trail. Uncle Silas? First words in months, barely a whisper. Are you going to live here now? Silas knelt. No, boy. I'm just helping. I don't want to be alone anymore. The words hit like a fist. Silas couldn't speak. Midge emerged from the cabin. Who's this? My nephew, Oswin, lives with me since his folks passed. She knelt to Oz's level. Hello, Oswin. I'm Midge. You're building a cabin all by yourself? Trying to. Oz stared at her. That's really brave. She smiled. First genuine one Silas had seen. Thank you. That might be the nicest thing anyone said to me in months. That afternoon, Silas saw riders in the distance, heading toward town. By nightfall, torchlights appeared, mob forming. They're coming, Clyde said, arriving with warning. Beatrice called the committee. They'll be here by week's end. Through the window, one small lantern glowed. And in the darkness, boots were already marching. Christmas was 2 weeks out. Church should have been about peace and goodwill. But in Copper Creek, church was where reputations got made or murdered. Sunday morning came cold and clear. Silas entered with Oz, took their usual back pew. The boy's knife worked a piece of wood, another animal to add to his silent collection. Then Midge walked in. 40 heads turned as one. Whispers rippled like wind through wheat. She wore her work clothes, only ones she had, hands still bandaged from building. Chin high despite every eye cutting into her back. Only empty seat was front row, isolated. She walked forward, sat down, alone. Beatrice Voss leaned toward her daughter, voice intentionally loud. Some women have no shame, building homes in isolation like that, entertaining men overnight. What kind of decent woman lives alone? Congregation murmured agreement. Midge's shoulders stiffened, but she didn't turn. Reverend Amos Whitlock mounted the pulpit, weak voice, eyes avoiding contact. Today's sermon concerns righteousness and community standards. Scripture tells us a woman's place is in the protection of family. Those who operate outside these bounds invite disorder. He glanced at Beatrice. She nodded approval. Silas felt Oz look up at him. The boy's carved animal, a deer, lay still in his small hands. I had a choice, Silas thought. Same choice I'd been avoiding for 3 years. Stay silent, stay safe, stay dead inside, or stand up. He stood. Gasps echoed through the church. Reverend? Yes, Mr. Brennan? Scripture also says, I was a stranger and you took me in. Seems to me Mrs. Coulter's more stranger than sinner in this town. Beatrice rose, face hard as granite. Mr. Brennan, we're discussing community standards. I know what we're discussing, Beatrice. Whether it's Christian to gossip about a widow trying to survive, whether it's righteous to deny her credit for nails, whether it's decent to let her freeze because she makes us uncomfortable. Murmurs through the congregation, some supportive, some scandalized. Strange company you're keeping, Silas Brennan. Beatrice's voice could cut steel. Overnight company, I hear. I helped a neighbor survive a blizzard. If that's sinful, then Christ himself was a sinner for helping strangers. Don't you dare compare. Silas looked at Midge, nodded once. Mrs. Coulter, ma'am. Her eyes filled with tears, gratitude and disbelief warring on her face. If you walk out that door with her, Beatrice said, you're making a choice, Brennan. This town has a long memory. He paused at the door. Good. Let it remember, I chose decency over cruelty. The church erupted in whispers as he left. Outside, Midge caught up to him. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. You just made an enemy of the most powerful woman in town. She was already my enemy the moment she decided you were less than human. Oz ran out, joined them. Uncle Silas, you were really brave in there. Silas ruffled the boy's hair. Just standing up, boy. Something I should have done sooner. Thank you, Midge said. I don't know what to say. Don't say nothing, just, if you'll have the help, I'll help you finish that cabin before winter kills us all. She studied him for a long moment, weighing trust. Then you'd better show up at dawn. We've got work to do. Silas smiled. First real smile in 3 years. Yes, ma'am. That night, Clyde arrived at the ranch, urgent. Boss, we got problems. Beatrice called a committee meeting. They're filing legal complaints. Say Midge's cabin violates territorial residence codes. Single woman can't claim land without family dwelling. That's interpretation, not law. It's whatever the land office says it is, and Beatrice's son-in-law works there. When? Inspection tomorrow. She fails. She's got 2 weeks to vacate or they evict by force. At Midge's cabin that same night, she heard noises outside. Shadows moving past windows. Voices, muffled. This is the one. Beatrice said scare her, not hurt her. Burning her timber pile will scare her plenty. Midge grabbed her rifle, fired a warning shot through the window. Next one's not a warning. Men scattered, but not before lighting one pile. Silas arrived minutes later, having heard the shot. Together, they killed the fire with snow. Most timber saved, but damage done. You hurt? He asked. She shook, adrenaline crashing. No, just scared. I'm staying tonight, in the barn. Nobody's burning anything else. Silas, if you do that, I don't care anymore. I'm done watching people suffer from a distance. She nodded, too exhausted to argue. Next morning, Deputy Thaddeus Greer arrived at dawn, official papers in hand. Mrs. Coulter, Mr. Brennan. Deputy. Got papers here. Territorial inspection order. He handed a second document. And complaint of moral indecency. You two were witnessed together overnight. Again. We weren't, Midge started. Don't matter what you were doing, ma'am. Matters what it looks like. Committee's demanding you vacate by February 1st. That's 3 weeks, Silas said. Middle of winter. She'll die. Deputy looked uncomfortable. That's the order. And if she doesn't leave? Then I'll be back with men. We'll remove her by force. He rode away. Silas and Midge stood in snow, legal papers between them like a death sentence. I can't win this, she whispered. Not alone. What does that mean? Silas looked at the half-built cabin, then at her. I don't know yet. But we'll figure it out. Behind them, Oz had been listening. He slipped a carved deer onto the porch rail, silent prayer for the family he desperately wanted. In town, Beatrice Voss smiled as she poured tea. The deadline was set. For the next week, Silas showed up at dawn and worked till dark. Oz came too. Boy found his purpose in those days. Midge taught him to read by firelight. He taught her the names he'd given all his carved animals. They became something like a family without anybody saying the word out loud. Walls rose steadily. Roof frame took shape. Their hands touched passing tools. Charged moments neither acknowledged. Evening meals by the fire became ritual. Sparse conversation, but weighted with meaning. Why do you still wear her ring? Midge asked one night, gesturing to the chain around his neck. Your wife's? Silas touched it. Feels like if I take it off, I'm saying she didn't matter. Or maybe you're saying she did matter. So much that you're honoring her by living the life she'd want for you. He looked at her across the fire. I don't know how to do this. Do what? Feel something again, without it hurting like betrayal. Midge reached across, took his hand. Grief isn't betrayal, Silas. The dead don't want us dead too. Their eyes met. He didn't pull away. 3 days before eviction, everything changed. Deputy Greer arrived unexpectedly, alone. Got new orders? Beatrice pushed the eviction up. Tomorrow morning. Sunrise. Midge went pale. That's not the deadline. New complaint filed. Says you're running an improper household. Me and 4 men will be here at dawn to escort you off the property. Silas stepped forward. Like hell you will. The deputy's hand moved to his gun. Don't make this harder, Brennan. I got my orders. Orders from Beatrice Voss aren't law. They are when the land office signs them. He rode away. Midnight. Silas, Midge, Clyde, and Oz huddled in the cabin, planning. If they come at dawn, we got hours to move what matters, Clyde said. Move where? Midge's voice was hollow. I got nowhere to go. My place, old trapper's cabin, 10 miles north. Running doesn't solve this, Silas said. Buys time to figure out what does. Oz looked up from his carving. What about the cabin? She worked so hard. Midge knelt to him. Cabins can be rebuilt, sweetheart. People can't. Dogs started barking in the distance. They're coming early, Silas said, moving to the window. Damn. Clyde grabbed his rifle. They got dogs. Can't outrun those. Then I'll face them, Midge said. Alone. You three leave. Not a chance. Silas, if you're here when they arrive, Beatrice will destroy you too. Your ranch, Oz's future. Don't care. I care. She gripped his arm. I won't let you lose everything for me. Long look between them. Everything unsaid now screaming in the silence. Then, hoofbeats. Single rider. Everyone tensed. Silas raised his rifle. Deputy Greer dismounted, hands up. Don't shoot. I'm not here to evict. You said Dawn with 4 men. I lied, to Beatrice. He removed his hat, looked ashamed. Told her I'd come alone first to assess the situation. Bought you time. Why would you help us? Midge asked. The deputy's jaw worked. Because I'm tired of being her weapon. I became a lawman to protect people, not persecute widows. This ain't justice. It's cruelty dressed up as law. So why come at all? Clyde's rifle didn't lower. To warn you, real posse comes at sunrise. 6 men. Beatrice will be with them to make sure I follow through. You got maybe 3 hours. Silas examined the papers by lantern light. The seal, it's wrong. This isn't the official territorial seal. Exactly. The deputy pulled out a worn journal. Beatrice's son-in-law forged it. Means the eviction is illegal. But if we fight it, weeks, maybe months of legal battles. Meanwhile, you're still here, still fighting. So we stall, Clyde said. You stall, and I find my backbone and tell her no. The deputy met Silas's eyes. She'll destroy me, but I'll sleep better. He opened the journal. There's more. Something you should know about your husband, Mrs. Coulter. Midge tensed. What about Elle? I was there. The day he died. Wasn't a mining accident. Vernon Nash's men caused the cave-in, deliberately. I saw them tamper with the support beams. His voice dropped. I said nothing. Wrote it up as accident. Silence. Midge's hand went to her mouth. Why are you telling me this now? Because I've been a coward long enough. Your husband died trying to protect this land. Least I can do is help you keep it. He held out the journal. Every time Beatrice or Nash bent the law, I wrote it down. Thought maybe someday I'd have the guts to use it. This is evidence, Silas said. Of corruption. Evidence of my cowardice. But yeah, corruption too. Clyde grabbed the journal. This could bring down Beatrice's whole operation. Needs to reach the territorial capital, Helena. That's 200 miles in winter. I'll ride, Clyde said. I know the trails. Take 2 weeks, maybe 3. I'll stall as long as I can, the deputy said. Lost the orders. Misunderstood the date. Blame the weather. Silas turned to Clyde. Don't do anything stupid while I'm gone, boss. Stupid's all I got left. As Clyde prepared to ride, distant sound, more dogs, torches on the horizon. Damn, the deputy whispered. She didn't wait. Silas grabbed his spyglass. Dozen, maybe more. We can't fight that many, Midge said. Then we make a stand long enough for Clyde to get out. Silas gripped his friend's shoulder. That journal's the only weapon we got. Reach Helena. Find someone who still believes in justice. Clyde hesitated, then nodded. Mounted his horse. If things go bad, reach the church by sunrise, he called back. Reverend's weak, but even he won't let them lynch you on holy ground. Maybe. Silas pushed Midge and Oz toward the cabin. Inside, bar the door. Silas! He turned, pulled her close, kissed her, desperate, brief, everything unspoken, finally spoken. If I don't make it, take Oz and run, north, Canada. Don't look back. I'm not leaving you. He touched her face. I spent 3 years dead, Midge. You made me alive again. That's enough. Now save yourself. She whispered. Come back to me. I'll try. Silas stood alone in the snow, torches approaching, cabin behind him. He'd faced death before, but this time he had something to lose, and that made all the difference. They came like locusts, 12 men with torches and righteousness. Beatrice Voss at the front, riding a horse worth more than most folks' houses. Silas stood in the middle of the road, blocking the path. Step aside, Brennan. No, ma'am. We have legal authority to remove that woman. Show me the seal. Beatrice stiffened. I don't need to show you. Territorial seal, Beatrice? Official one, not the forgery your son-in-law made. The crowd murmured. Her face went hard. How dare you accuse? I dare because it's true, and everyone here knows it. Deputy Greer stepped beside Silas. He's right, Mrs. Voss. I can't enforce forged documents. You work for me. I work for the law. There's a difference. More murmurs. Committee members looking uncertain. Fine. Beatrice's voice dripped venom. We don't need papers. We'll burn her out. She signaled. Men raised torches. Silas raised his rifle. First torch thrown, somebody dies. Maybe me, maybe you, but somebody. Standoff. Wind howled. Tension peaked. Then, hoofbeats. Reverend Amos rode hard, out of breath. Stop! In God's name, stop! Reverend, this doesn't concern. It concerns all of us. Our souls. Our humanity. He dismounted, walked between Silas and the mob. I've been a coward for 20 years. I let my wife bully our daughter until she ran away. Never saw her again. Never stood up. His voice broke. I see her and Mrs. Coulter. Every day. My girl would be about her age now. Maybe building a cabin somewhere. Maybe needing someone to stand up for her. Amos, you're being emotional. I'm being human, the Reverend shouted. First time anyone had heard him loud. Something this town forgot how to be. Mrs. Coulter is a widow trying to survive, and we're hunting her like an animal because she makes us uncomfortable? He turned to the mob. By God's mercy, I won't let this happen. Not again. He stood beside Silas. You want her? You go through both of us. The blacksmith stepped forward, then a young rancher, then 3 more. Reverend's right. This ain't justice. I'll stand with Brennan. Beatrice saw control slipping. You're all fools. That woman is what, Beatrice? Silas's voice cut through the night. A human being trying to live, like all of us? Pause. Wind howled. This isn't over, she said coldly, wheeling her horse. Half the mob followed, half stayed. Inside the cabin afterward, the crisis passed but not forgotten. Silas, Midge, Oz, the deputy, and Reverend gathered around the small fire. Thank you, Midge said, hands shaking as she poured coffee. All of you. I should have done it months ago, Reverend Amos said. Deputy pulled out a different document. I found something while Beatrice was distracted. What? Old territorial law, from trapper days, called witness marriage. He handed it to Silas. If 2 people live as family for 30 days and the community witnesses it, law recognizes the union, even without formal ceremony. I don't understand, Midge said. Means if you and Mr. Brennan were married, you'd qualify as family dwelling. Her complaint dies. Long silence. Everyone looking at them. That's asking too much, Midge whispered. Silas set down his cup. What if I wanted to ask? Silas? Not because of the law. He stood, faced her. Because these past weeks, building together, fighting together, I've been more alive than I've been in 3 years. I don't know if I can be a good husband again, but I know I don't want to watch life anymore. I want to live it. With you, if you'll have me. Tears streamed down her face. You don't have to do this. Forget the law. I'm asking for me. Marry me, Midge. We'll figure out the rest one day at a time, like building a cabin. She looked at the wedding ring on the chain around his neck. What about Margaret? He removed it slowly. I loved her. I'll always love her. But she's gone. And you're here. And I think she'd want me to choose life. Oz moved between them, took both their hands. Please say yes, Miss Midge. We could be a real family. She broke, nodded through tears. Yes. Yes, I'll marry you, Reverend Amos smiled. Then by the authority vested in me and in the presence of these witnesses, I pronounce you husband and wife. Simple, no frills, but holy. Silas kissed her gently. One day at a time. One day at a time. Oz hugged them both. Can I call you Ma and Pa now? Nothing would make me happier, Midge said, crying. For 5 days they were happy. Finished the cabin together, meals by firelight, laughter. Oz presented his carved family, man, woman, boy, dog. Midge finally understood he'd been leaving the animals all along. Should have known the storm was just catching its breath. Sixth morning, Oz ran in from outside. Papa, smoke! Silas ran out, looked across the valley, black smoke rising. Moses Ranch, he whispered. My cabin, the barn. Beatrice, Midge said. Deputy rode up. It's worse. She's filed new charges. Says you abandoned the ranch. Defaulted on care. She's claiming it for back taxes. That's my home. Not anymore. Silas stared at the flames consuming everything he'd built with Margaret. Her garden, their bedroom, the last physical connection to his first life. We'll rebuild, Midge said, taking his hand. His voice was hollow. That was all I had left of her. But his eyes hardened. No more running. No more surviving. We end this. Now. By morning, one of them would be in chains. Dawn came cold and final. They arrived with federal badges this time, 4 territorial marshals Beatrice had summoned from Helena through her son-in-law's connections. Not local men who might waver, professionals. Silas Brennan, you're under arrest. For what? The head marshal read from papers. Destruction of property, trespassing, violating territorial residence codes, conspiracy to defraud land claims. That's horse shit and you know it. Tell it to the judge. Marshals grabbed him. Midge tried to intervene. He's done nothing wrong. Ma'am, step back or you'll be arrested too. Oz ran forward crying. Don't take him, please. Silas looked at the boy. Be brave, son. Take care of your ma. First time he'd called Midge ma in front of Oz. The boy nodded through tears, trying to straighten his shoulders like a man. They dragged Silas through town in chains, mud and snow on his clothes from being thrown down. Whole town watching from windows, doorways, some faces ashamed, most just staring. Fear makes cowards of good people. Beatrice stood outside her store, arms crossed in triumph. Fallen pretty far, haven't you, Brennan? From respected rancher to criminal. Silas stopped, looked at her directly. Chains clinked. Only criminal here is you, Beatrice, and everyone knows it. Do they? Because what I see is a man who broke the law for a woman of questionable character. What I see is a man who taught a child to disrespect authority. Her smile cut like glass. What I see is a man getting exactly what he deserves. What you see is what you've always seen, only yourself. A marshal jerked him forward. Midge pushed through the crowd, Oz beside her. Silas, he turned. Their eyes met across 20 feet of dirt and shame. I'll find a way, she said. I promise. He shook his head gently. Keep your dignity, Midge. Don't beg. Don't break. But, he looked at Oz, voice louder. Take care of her, son. You're the man of the house now. Oz straightened despite tears. Yes, sir. Silas nodded approval. Then they dragged him away. The cell was stone and straw and cold breath visible in lamplight. One barred window, bucket in the corner, rats scratching in walls. Single candle dying on a ledge. Silas sat on the moldy straw, head in hands. I'd been in worse places, he thought. Cavalry prison after that Yellowstone raid, field hospital during typhoid. But this was different. This time, I had people depending on me. And I was failing them. He paced, 5 steps one way, 5 back. Should have stayed on that ridge, he muttered to the darkness. Should have kept watching. Margaret was right. I get people hurt. He touched the wall where previous prisoners had scratched days, tallies of despair. Midge loses the cabin because of me. Oz loses another father. And for what? My pride? My need to feel alive again? He sat heavily. Maybe Beatrice is right. Maybe I am just a foolish old man who doesn't know when to quit. Evening. Footsteps in the corridor. Clyde's voice. Boss? Here. Clyde appeared at the bars, one arm hanging useless as always, face grim. You look like hell. Feel worse. Got news. I made it to Helena. Delivered the journal to the territorial governor. Hope flickered in Silas's chest. And? He's sending an investigator. Should be here in 10 days. The hope died. Trial's tomorrow, Clyde. I know, but it's something. Means we got a chance. Not if I'm convicted. Not if Midge loses the land while I'm locked up. Then we fight tomorrow, in court, with everything we got. Silas laughed bitterly. I got nothing. No lawyer. No witnesses willing to testify against Beatrice. No. You got the truth. And you got people who love you. Love ain't enough. Clyde reached through bars, gripped his shoulder hard. You listen to me, Silas Brennan. You spent 3 years believing you were dead, that nothing mattered, that you couldn't save nobody. Silas tried to look away. Clyde forced eye contact. But that woman out there, she's alive because of you. That boy, he's talking again because of you. And this town, half of them finally remembered they got spines because you stood up first. And now I'm in chains. Honor ain't land, boss. It ain't freedom. It's how you stand after you fall. How you keep your eyes clean in the mirror even when the world's filthy. Clyde's voice softened. Margaret would be proud of you, not for winning, for trying, for choosing life over death, even if it hurts. Silas's voice cracked. I'm scared, Clyde. Good. Means you got something to lose. That's called being alive. Clyde left, footsteps fading down stone corridor. Night deepened. Rats scratched. Wind through the barred window. Distant sound. Hammering. Silas went to the window, looked out. In the town square, they were building a gallows. Jesus, he whispered. The candle died. Cell went dark. Somewhere across town, Midge and Oz huddled by their dying fire. Ma, are they gonna hurt Papa? Midge pulled him close, honest because children deserve truth. I don't know, sweetheart. Can we save him? I'll try, with everything I have. Oz held up his carved family, 3 figures. We're supposed to stay together. I carved it. We will, Oz, somehow. But as she stared at the dying flames, she wondered if hope was just another way of lying to yourself. Morning came gray and merciless. A notice was posted in the town square. Trial. Silas Brennan. Charges. Fraud. Trespassing. Public indecency. Time. Dawn. Town hall. Penalty. Up to 10 years. Territorial prison or hanging crowd gathered to read it. Murmurs. Whispers. Some sympathetic. Most too scared of Beatrice to speak. In his cell, Silas heard boots approaching. Keys jingling. Time, Brennan. Trial's starting. He stood, chains clinking like death bells. Let's get this over with. He walked toward that courtroom expecting death. What he got was something worse. Copper Creek Town Hall had never held so many people, packed shoulder to shoulder, breath fogging in the cold. Beatrice sitting front row like a queen at an execution. Midge and Oz in back, holding hands so tight their knuckles went white. Deputy Greer by the door, conflicted eyes on the floor. Reverend Amos in corner, praying under his breath. The circuit judge, Blackwood, a stern man with weathered face, sat at a makeshift bench. Frontier justice is fast and final. No fancy lawyers, no appeals, just a judge, a crowd, and whatever truth survives the telling. This court is now in session. Mr. Brennan, you stand accused of multiple territorial violations. How do you plead? Silas stood in chains. Not guilty, Your Honor. Mrs. Voss, you filed the complaints. Present your case. Beatrice rose, confident as a snake in tall grass. Your Honor, Mr. Brennan has flagrantly violated residence codes, engaged in fraudulent marriage to circumvent land claims, destroyed property, and corrupted the morals of a minor child. Serious charges. Evidence? I have witnesses. and documents. The store owner testified first. One of Beatrice's loyal dogs. I seen Mr. Brennan staying overnight at Mrs. Coulter's cabin multiple times before any marriage. Improper conduct. Silas stepped forward. I was helping her survive a blizzard. Judge Blackwood's gavel cracked like a gunshot. Mr. Brennan, you'll have your turn. Mrs. Voss, continue. The land office clerk took the stand next. Beatrice's son-in-law, the forger himself. Mrs. Coulter's claim was filed improperly. Single woman, no family designation. The marriage to Mr. Brennan appears fraudulent, occurred only after enforcement action began. Midge couldn't stay silent. That's a lie! Order! The judge pointed at her. Ma'am, one more outburst and you'll be removed. Oz gripped her hand tighter, terrified. Silas tried again. Your Honor, I'd like to... Beatrice cut him off smoothly. Your Honor, Mr. Brennan is a known troublemaker. He abandoned his own ranch. I didn't abandon it. It was burned by... Judge Blackwood slammed the gavel again. Order, Mrs. Voss has the floor. As I was saying, he abandoned his responsibilities, seduced a vulnerable widow, and has been teaching her nephew to disrespect authority. This man is a danger to community standards. Murmurs of agreement from her faction. Silas's turn to defend himself came like scraps thrown to a dog. Your Honor, I'm not a danger. I'm a man who helped a neighbor. That's all. A neighbor you now claim as a wife, Beatrice said, voice dripping mockery. Conveniently. I married her because I love her. How convenient that love arrived exactly when legal pressure did. That ain't... Mr. Brennan, do you have witnesses? Evidence? Judge Blackwood sounded tired. Silas looked around the room. Eyes met his and looked away. Fear was a contagion in Copper Creek. I got Deputy Greer. He knows the truth. Everyone turned to the deputy. He went pale, sweating despite the cold. Deputy Greer? The judge gestured. The deputy opened his mouth, closed it. Beatrice's cold smile fixed on him like a knife point. His voice shook. Thaddeus, Silas said. Tell them about the forged seal, about your journal. Long pause. The deputy's moral crisis played out on his face for everyone to see. I don't know what you're talking about. The words came out strangled. Silas felt the ground drop away. The hell you don't. You gave me evidence. You said... I never gave you anything, Mr. Brennan. You're confused. The courtroom gasped. Silas staggered like he'd been shot. You lying son of a... Mr. Brennan, control yourself. Silas turned on the deputy, chains rattling. You gave me your journal. You said Beatrice forged documents. You said... Beatrice stood, playing wounded. Your Honor, clearly Mr. Brennan is delusional, desperate, making accusations against a sworn officer. I'm sorry, Mr. Brennan, the deputy whispered, still unable to meet his eyes. But I never said those things. Midge screamed from the back. You're lying! I was there! Remove that woman, Judge Blackwood ordered. Two men moved toward Midge. Reverend Amos stepped in front of her. No, she has a right to speak. She has no rights in my courtroom unless called as witness. Then, the door burst open. Clyde entered, breathing hard, snow on his shoulders. Your Honor, I got evidence. Who are you? Clyde Hartshorn, and I got something you need to see. He pulled out Deputy Greer's journal. Beatrice's face drained of color. Where did you get that? From the one person who knew where it was hidden. Clyde turned to face the courtroom. Everyone followed his gaze to a figure standing in the corner, one who'd been silent the whole trial, Vernon Nash. The twist landed like thunder. Nash stepped forward, cold smile on his face. Not a witness for Silas, not an ally. The betrayer. That's right, Vernon said. I've been working with Beatrice for years. Land grabs, forced evictions. I murdered Elwood Coulter when he wouldn't sell. The courtroom erupted. Judge Blackwood's gavel cracked repeatedly. Silas stared. You were the one who burned my ranch. On Beatrice's orders. She wanted you broken. Vernon threw the journal on the judge's bench. Here's every crime, every forged document, every payoff, my testimony for immunity. Vernon, shut your mouth. Beatrice stood, face twisted with rage. Why? We're done, Beatrice. You promised me the Coulter claim, the Brennan Ranch, equal partnership, but you kept it all for yourself. Your name on the deeds, your profit, he pointed at Deputy Greer. And he helped every step, for money. The deputy broke. She threatened my family, my wife, my children. I had no choice. You're all traitors, Beatrice screamed. Vernon, you bastard, all— Mrs. Voss, sit down. Judge Blackwood opened the journal. His face grew grave as he read. Page after page of corruption documented in careful handwriting. This is extensive. Vernon Nash negotiated like he was trading horses. Complete immunity, Your Honor, and I'll testify against everyone. The judge looked at Silas, at the journal, at Beatrice. This evidence is damning. However, he paused. Mr. Brennan, you are still guilty of violating residence procedures. Fraudulent marriage. The law is the law, even if corruption surrounded it. But, Silas started, I find you guilty. Sentence, 5 years territorial prison. The courtroom exploded. Midge screamed. Oz sobbed. Beatrice's smile returned like poison. Your Honor is most wise. I'm not finished. Judge Blackwood looked at her. Mrs. Voss, you are also under arrest for conspiracy, fraud, and accessory to murder, as is Mr. Nash, pending his testimony. Marshals moved. Chaos erupted. But Silas was still guilty. Your Honor, he tried desperately, if Beatrice is guilty, then my marriage isn't fraudulent. She forced the situation. Perhaps. But the law was still broken. You married to avoid eviction. That's fraud, regardless of who pressured you. Midge pushed forward. He married me because he loves me. Can you prove it? Or did love conveniently arrive with legal necessity? Silence. The question hung like a noose. Silas looked at Midge. I can't prove it. Except to say, I'd rather die in prison having loved her than live free having never tried. Poetic, but insufficient. The gavel fell. 5 years. Moses Territorial Prison. Sentence begins immediately. Marshals moved to take him. Oz broke from Midge, ran to Silas. No, you can't take my papa, please. Silas knelt in chains, pulled the boy close. Be strong, son. Take care of your ma. Oz sobbed against his chest. You said we were a family. We are. Always. Families don't end just because we're apart. Midge fell to her knees beside them. The three embraced, a family torn apart by the same justice that should have protected them. I'll wait, Silas, Midge whispered. 5 years, 50 years. I'll wait. Don't wait. Live. Build that cabin. Raise Oz. Be happy. Without you? If you have to. The marshals pulled him away. Midge and Oz clinging, then ripped apart, their hands separated. Silas looked back once, saw them collapsed on the floor, holding each other. Outside, they loaded him into a prison wagon. Through the bars, he reached for Midge one last time. Their fingers touched. I matter because you matter, he said. Keep living. That's how you honor me. The wagon started moving. Their hands separated. Oz chased after it. Papa! Papa! The wagon disappeared into distance. Beatrice was led away in chains too, but she was smiling. She'd taken him down with her. Justice came that day, but it came blind. One more night, the paper said. Then prison, 5 years, maybe forever. The prison wagon stopped 10 miles out of Copper Creek, middle of nowhere, snow falling. Horses whinnied, restless. Silas looked up through the bars. What's happening? The marshal opened the door, but it wasn't the territorial marshal who'd arrested him. Different badge. Federal. You got friends in high places, Brennan. Behind him, a woman in a severe coat and hat, official bearing, sharp eyes. She carried papers with the territorial governor's seal, the real one. Territorial governor sent me. Judge Blackwood's verdict is under emergency review. You're coming back to Copper Creek. Silas blinked, not believing. What? Why? Someone made a hell of a case for you. Someone the governor actually listens to. The federal marshal almost smiled. Your wife. 2 days had passed. 2 days of Midge writing letters, riding through snow to Helena herself, presenting evidence with the fire of a woman who wouldn't quit. She'd taken Deputy Greer's journal, sworn affidavits from 15 community members, and her own educated arguments about witness marriage law. The governor, impressed by her tenacity and legal knowledge, sent Judge Sarah Hartley, a woman known for overturning corrupt verdicts. Now Silas sat in the same town hall, different energy, different judge. Midge stood at a makeshift lawyer's table, papers organized, Oz beside her holding documents like a tiny clerk. Her hands were steady now, eyes fierce. Clyde and Reverend Amos sat as witnesses. Half the town packed in again. Word spread fast in small places. Beatrice sat in her own chains, glaring daggers. Judge Hartley was stern, efficient. Mrs. Brennan, you petitioned the territorial governor for emergency review. That's unusual. Explain. Midge stood. Your Honor, my husband was convicted under false pretenses. Judge Blackwood ruled our marriage fraudulent because it coincided with legal pressure, but he ignored the law itself. Which law? Oz handed her a paper. She brought it to the judge. Witness marriage statute. Territorial Code Section 47, Subsection 3, enacted 1867 for frontier settlements. Judge Hartley read. Continue. The law states, any union witnessed by community members and maintained for 30 consecutive days shall be recognized as legal marriage, regardless of ceremony date or motivating circumstances. Midge's voice strengthened. We've been married 42 days, Your Honor. We've lived as family. The community witnessed it. Interesting, but motive still matters. Did you marry for love or land? Why can't it be both? Judge Hartley's eyebrow raised. Excuse me? Your Honor, I'm a practical woman. My husband died. I inherited worthless land. I was freezing to death building a cabin alone. Silas Brennan helped me survive. She walked toward him, spoke directly to him now. Yes, we married to protect the claim. But we also married because we'd fallen in love building that cabin, log by log, day by day. Through blizzards and persecution and fires. Her voice broke slightly. I married him because he made me laugh when I'd forgotten how. Because he taught our son how to be brave. Because he stood up to a mob when no one else would. She turned back to Judge Hartley. So yes, Judge, we married for practical reasons and for love. Frontier women don't have the luxury of separating the two. Judge Hartley nodded slowly. Compelling, but Judge Blackwood based his ruling on procedure violations. Can you address those? I can. Midge gestured. Oz, the folder. He handed her a thick collection. These are affidavits from 15 community members, signed statements that Silas and I have lived as married couple, witnessed by all of them for 42 days. She handed them over. This is the deed to my land, inherited legally from my husband Elwood Coulter, who was murdered by Vernon Nash and Beatrice Voss, as Mr. Nash himself confessed under oath. Another document. This is evidence that every code violation was based on forged documents from Beatrice's son-in-law, who is also now under arrest. Another, and this is a letter from Reverend Amos Whitlock, testifying that he performed our marriage ceremony in good faith, with witnesses, and that we've attended church as family every Sunday since. Judge Hartley looked impressed. You've been busy, Mrs. Brennan. I've been fighting for my family, Your Honor. That's what women do. Then, unexpected witness. A young man stood in back, Beatrice's son, Marcus Voss. Your Honor, I'd like to testify, Beatrice hissed. Marcus, sit down. No, Mother. I'm done. He approached the stand. Marcus Voss. Beatrice Voss is my mother, and I'm here to confess everything she did was to cover my gambling debts. The courtroom gasped. I owed money, dangerous money. Mother tried to protect me by stealing land, by forcing evictions, by partnering with Vernon Nash. His voice shook. Elwood Coulter's death, that was Nash acting on Mother's orders, to get land to pay my debts. He looked at Midge. Mrs. Brennan, I'm sorry. Your husband died because of me. Because I was weak and stupid, and my mother loved me more than she loved what was right. Beatrice stood, chains rattling. How dare you? I did everything for you. I know. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. And I'm saying, stop, please, no more. He turned to Judge Hartley. The Brennans did nothing wrong except survive. Convicting them is just me killing more innocent people. I can't live with that. Judge Hartley stood. The room went silent. I've heard enough. This case is a travesty of justice on multiple levels. She looked at Silas. Mr. Brennan, your conviction is overturned immediately. The courtroom erupted. Midge's hand flew to her mouth. Your Honor? Silas couldn't believe it. Your marriage is legal under witness marriage law. Mrs. Brennan's land claim is valid. And frankly, you've been punished enough for the crime of being decent. She turned to Beatrice. Mrs. Voss, your trial for conspiracy to murder, fraud, and corruption will proceed in Helena. I expect you'll spend the rest of your life in prison. This is an outrage, Beatrice screamed. I demand— You demand nothing. Bailiff, remove her. Beatrice was dragged away, shouting obscenities that echoed through the hall. Judge Hartley looked at Marcus. Young man, you'll testify against your mother at trial. In exchange, the territorial governor may show leniency. I understand, Your Honor. She slammed her gavel. Case dismissed. Mr. Brennan, you're free. A marshal removed Silas's chains. Time slowed. He rubbed his wrists, staring at his hands like they belonged to someone else. I'm free? You're free. Midge ran to him. They collided in an embrace that spoke every word they'd been too scared to say. I told you, she sobbed. I told you I'd fight. You did, he whispered, holding her like she might disappear. You saved me. Oz crashed into them both. Papa, you're staying. Silas lifted the boy. I'm staying, son. We're all staying. The three held each other. The courtroom clapped, first tentative, then building. People approached. Reverend Amos. Forgive me for not fighting sooner. Blacksmith. Need help finishing that cabin? Young rancher. We got extra timber if you need it. Silas, overwhelmed, couldn't speak. Clyde approached, embraced him with one arm. Don't say nothing, boss. Just live, like you taught us. The community wants to help finish your cabin, Reverend said. Barn raising. This Saturday. Everyone's invited. You do that? Midge asked. It's what we should have done from the start. Outside, sunset painted the snow gold. Silas, Midge, and Oz stood together. Papa, what happens now? Oz asked. Now, we go home. The cabin? Yeah, boy. Home. Silas removed the chain from his neck, Margaret's wedding ring, looked at it one last time. Goodbye, Maggie. Thank you for everything, especially for teaching me that love doesn't end. It just makes room. He buried it at the base of a tree, symbolic letting go. She'd be proud of you, Midge said quietly. I hope so. They walked toward their horses. Oz ran ahead, shouting, Come on, let's go home. Justice had come, not perfect, not fast, but it came. And with it, a future. Saturday morning. Dawn broke clear and cold. Silas stood at the cabin window, watching the valley, nervous despite the verdict. What if nobody comes? Midge joined him. Then we finish it ourselves, like we started. 3 of us can't complete a cabin in one day. Then we'll take 2 days, or 10, or 100. She touched his hand. Don't matter how long it takes. Matters that we do it. Oz sat by the fire, carving. They'll come. How do you know, boy? He held up small wooden animals. Because I left these on porches, all over town, with notes that said, Please come. We need help. Midge knelt to him. Oz, that was so brave. I learned from you. Then, sound of wagon wheels. One wagon crested the hill. Silas held his breath. It was Clyde and Reverend Amos. Morning, Clyde called. We here too early? Relief flooded through Silas. Right on time. Then another wagon, the blacksmith's family. Then another, young rancher with lumber. Then another, and another. 15 families arrived. Wagons, horses, tools, food, children, dogs, a whole community. Midge cried, "They came. They actually came." "Told you," Silas said, arm around her. "Hope's stubborn." Men raised roof beams together, synchronized effort, old songs keeping rhythm. Women cooked communal meals, laughter mixing with wood smoke. Children played, Oz among them, smiling for the first time in months. Reverend Amos blessed the foundation. May all who enter find warmth. May all who leave carry light. The hearthstone, too heavy for one person, was lifted by 12 men together, symbol made real. By noon, walls were solid, roof taking shape, the cabin becoming home. Then, rider approaching fast. Messenger, breathless. "Folks, we got trouble." Work stopped. Everyone turned. Beatrice Voss. She escaped transport to Helena, overpowered a guard. She's headed this way with her remaining loyalists. Maybe 6 men. Fear rippled through the crowd. Some families started packing. "We should go," a woman said. "This ain't our fight." "You're right," Silas said quietly. "It ain't. Nobody's asking you to stay." His voice was sad but understanding. Reverend Amos stepped forward. "I'm staying." Everyone looked at him. "I ran once. From my daughter. From my conscience. From what was right. I won't run again." He looked at the crowd. "We came to build." "We're finishing what we started." The blacksmith nodded. "Reverend's right. My rifle's in the wagon," the young rancher said. One by one, families decided, not everyone, but enough. Silas's voice was thick. "You don't have to do this." Clyde clasped his shoulder. "Yeah, we do. You stood for us when it cost you everything. Now we stand for you." 30 minutes later, Beatrice arrived. Disheveled, wild-eyed, desperate. 6 armed men flanked her, but she faced 40 people. "This is my town," she screamed. "You're all traitors." Silas stepped forward, calm. "It's over, Beatrice. I'll burn this cabin to the ground. I'll burn all your houses." "You'll what?" Clyde's voice was steel. "Fight 40 people?" Beatrice looked around, realized she was outnumbered, outmatched, outmaneuvered. "Shoot them," she ordered her men. They didn't move, fear in their eyes. "I said shoot!" One man lowered his gun. "No, ma'am. I ain't killing families." Another. "Me neither." They dismounted, walked away. Beatrice was alone. "Cowards, all of you!" She drew her own pistol, aimed at Silas. "If I can't have this town, nobody—" The shot cracked across the valley. Time slowed. Silas saw it coming, pushed Midge aside. Bullet hit his shoulder. He fell. "Silas!" Midge screamed. "Papa!" Oz ran forward. Multiple men tackled Beatrice, disarmed her. She thrashed, screaming incoherently. Silas lay on the ground, blood spreading. Midge pressed cloth to the wound. "I'm okay," he gritted through pain. "I'm alive." "You're not okay," Clyde shouted. "Somebody get the doctor." Oz cried beside them. "Please don't die, Papa. Please." Silas touched the boy's face with his good hand. "I ain't dying, son. Takes more than a bitter old woman to kill a stubborn old man." He tried to smile. Winced. "Besides, we got a cabin to finish." Men held Beatrice. The blacksmith looked at Silas. "What do we do with her?" "Tie her up. Wait for Marshall." "She shot you." Silas struggled to sit up, Midge supporting him. He looked at Beatrice. Broken, defeated, alone. "Let her go." Silence. Everyone stared. "Silas, she shot you," Midge said. "I know, but justice don't need blood. Just witnesses." He looked at Beatrice. "You're beaten. Your power's gone. Your son testified against you. Your empire's dust. Locking you up won't change that." "So you're just letting me go?" Beatrice's voice was venomous. "No. I'm watching you get what you built. Nothing. No family. No respect. No town. You'll live, but you'll live alone, with what you did." He paused. "That's worse than any prison." Reverend stepped forward. Mrs. Voss, I'll escort you to the territorial marshal myself. You'll face trial. Legal. Proper. But not at the end of a rope. Not by mob justice. Something broke in Beatrice. She wept. First human moment anyone had seen. I just wanted to protect my son, she whispered. I know, Reverend said gently, but you protected him into ruin. That's not love. That's fear pretending. Marcus Voss rode up then, having heard the commotion. He saw his mother in tears. Mother, she looked at him, ashamed. Marcus, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know. And I'm sorry too. He turned to Silas. Mr. Brennan, I want to help. Building the cabin. It's the least I can do. Silas nodded through pain. Pick up a hammer. Marcus looked at the community. Anyone willing to let a fool try to fix what he broke? Long pause. The blacksmith handed him a hammer. Hell, we're all fools. Might as well be useful fools. Beatrice was led away by Reverend and the arriving marshal. She looked back once, saw her son working alongside the people she'd tried to destroy. By sunset, the cabin was complete, roof solid, walls tight, door hung, the hearthstone placed by community effort, symbol made permanent. Fire lit in the hearth for the first time. Reverend blessed the home. Bless this home. Bless these hands that built it. Bless this family that will fill it with love. Amen. Amen, everyone echoed. Oz placed his carved family on the mantle. Man, woman, boy, and a dog. They'd gotten a dog from one of the families, a gift. Midge lit the lantern in the window, no longer alone. The frozen rose from Elle's funeral was replaced with fresh spring flowers Marcus brought. Apology made tangible. Silas, arm bandaged, stood at the door. Midge beside him, Oz between them. Music started, fiddle, harmonica, dancing, children playing, laughter mixing with firelight. Clyde approached. How's the shoulder? Hurts like hell. But you're smiling. Yeah, I am. Why? Silas gestured to the scene. This, all of it, took me 3 years to figure out. Life ain't about avoiding pain. It's about choosing what pain's worth bearing. And? This pain's worth it. Midge approached with coffee. You should be resting. I'm resting in 3 years' worth of moments I missed. Let me enjoy it. She sat beside him. Thank you. For what? For being brave enough to ride down from that ridge. Thank you for being worth riding down for. They kissed. Community cheered. Oz ran up. Come on, they're starting the dancing. Silas winced. Son, I got shot today. So, Ma, make him dance. Midge laughed. You heard your son. Silas groaned but stood. One dance. That's it. He limped to the dance area, Midge beside him, Oz between them. They danced as family, clumsy, joyful, alive. Camera pulled back. 3 figures silhouetted against firelight. Cabin solid against Montana sky. Community packing wagons, waving goodbye. Smoke from chimney rising. Spring flowers blooming through snow. Above the door, carved into the lintel, home. The word they'd been building toward all along. Spring came full to the valley 2 months later. Snow melted into creeks. Wildflowers bloomed where winter had ruled. Birds returned, singing the kinds of songs that make you remember why living matters. I'm an old man now, 77 years, if you count the cold ones where I was breathing but not living. Folks ask me about that winter, 1889, the year Montana Territory near about froze to death. They want to hear about the cattle die-up, the blizzards, the trials. But I don't tell them about cattle or trials. I tell them about a woman. A woman who dragged timber through snow that should have killed her. A woman who built a cabin with bleeding hands and a will that wouldn't break. A woman who taught an old fool like me that grief ain't the end of the story. It's just the winter between chapters. Her name was Marjorie. I called her Midge. She lived to be 91. We had 47 years together. Raised Oz, who gave us 6 grandchildren. Built a good life here. Hard, but good. It all started the day I stopped watching from that ridge and rode down into the snow. Best decision I ever made. Maybe justice ain't loud. Maybe it's quiet. The way a man keeps his eyes clean in the mirror. The way a woman refuses to quit when quitting's easier. The way a community chooses mercy over revenge. That cabin behind me, still standing, 135 years old now, still solid. Know why? Because it wasn't built by one person. It was built by 40 hands, 40 hearts, 40 people who decided that helping was worth the risk. You can't build nothing alone. Not a cabin, not a life, not a family. And grief don't end, but it makes room for joy, for love, for second chances you don't think you deserve but get anyway. One day at a time, one log at a time, one choice at a time. That's how you build a home. If this story touched you, I'd be honored to know where you're listening from. Till next time, friends, may your winters be short. May your families be found, not just born. May your dignity carry you through the storms. And may you always, always choose life over slow death, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. God bless.